throws are even more effective when they're tired.
Well, Tommy John types, my only problem is that when you pitch as much as he has, you got to work a little bit harder to get the ball to home plate. And when you do it, the ball straightens out. So when I say that he throws back with a sinker down and away, yet he still did not hit it on the ground, he hit it into left field, he may not have as good a velocity, so he doesn't have as much action on the ball.
3-1. We'll watch Backman here, held on by Hatcher at first, nobody out in the first inning. He goes, and the pitch is grounded foul, so it's 3-2.
Hey, the thing about pitching in big games, as Tommy Lasorda said, I want Bulldog to go out there and have the best stuff he ever had. You talked about the Mets turning it on and off. As a pitcher, you can't do that. And, you know, he hopes, and of course, he's never thrown between starts all year, and yet he relieved and then threw in between starts again the next day to try to help him out.
If Backman ran 3-1, he's most certainly running 3-2 with Hernandez to hit it.
And Hershiser pays him a visit and almost had Backman leaning the other way.
Cannot get picked off in that situation, and that's what you have to tell yourself as a runner. Hershiser almost catching Backman leaning on that right foot.
3-2. Backman ready to take off, and that time his lead was a step and a half.
Well, you combine a quick move, which Hershiser have, a deceptive one, and then a good throw. I mean, he makes as good of throws to first as he does to home plate, so that really helps when you're trying to pick somebody off. Quickness doesn't help you if the ball's up about shoulder high.
There goes Backman. He stumbled as he got going, and it's fouled away again. So it remains 3-2.
There's that little stumble on the first step. But you have to be cautious as a base runner at first base, because it's not your problem to put the ball in play. It's almost a departmentalized play. You wait until the pitcher makes sure he throws, and it's up to the hitter to make contact.
1 out, no score, first inning. Backman, who singled at first. He goes, and the pitch is fouled away again. So Hernandez continues to make Hershiser work. And this is another thing that, of course, Lasorda will be very aware of and not too happy with in a situation like this, with Hernandez up there for right now 8 pitches will be Hershiser's pitch count.
And also, where are those pitches? They are not down in the strike zone, they're up. Now that's not Orel Hershiser. And again, I mean, it's only the first inning. He's got to be a little bit, maybe not nervous, but apprehensive.
He is trying to settle into a groove. He has been in such a groove. It's very odd to see him right now trying to get into it, because he's been in a groove since the end of August.
First, his main objective now is he knows he has to throw a strike to Hernandez. Let the guy get a little bit bigger lead, just throw a strike.
Backman goes, and the pitch is high, and so the Mets have an immediate threat. Runners at first and second, and 1 out. And Darryl Strawberry having a very good series coming to the plate. Funny thing about Strawberry, he's 9 for 26, and yet he hasn't had the real big hit, the hit that would make you sit up and take notice. So here is probably the most heralded of the Mets, at least offensively, having a big series, but kind of quietly. And he's 3 for 8 facing Hershiser in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's hitting 190 points higher than Kirk Gibson, but when you think of dramatic hits, you think of the 2 home runs by Gibson, even though he did hit a home run off way into right field off John Tudor.
Strike, got the corner, outside corner. Harry Wendelstedt is calling the balls and strikes tonight. The full rotation complete now. Harry started there in game 1. John McSherry at first, Joe West at second, Dutch Rennert at third, Bob Davidson down the line and left, Paul Runge in right. 2 on, 1 out, and the 0-1 pitch is away, and the count is 1-1.
The thing about being tired as a pitcher is that when you realize you don't have the velocity you'd like to have, you start reaching back and trying to maybe strain to throw the ball hard. First roommate I ever had, Robin Roberts, throw the ball out in front of you. When you're tired, you can't do that.
2-1 the count.
Again high, as you pointed out earlier. He walked Hernandez on the high fastball. Hernandez fouling back the high fastball. And you can see the concern on Tommy Lasorda's face.
Let's go Bulldog. Come on, Bulldog, is what he says.
Of course, his great strength is the ability to throw ground balls if he gets the ball down. So one pitch can get him out of a big inning.
2-1 to Strawberry, is grounded to the right side. This may be the pitch. Sacks to Griffin, back to first. Too late. Strawberry beats it out. Just does beat it out to prolong the inning. Backman goes to third. So the speed of Strawberry, and the Mets are able to avoid a double play because of that. 2 down.
I think they avoided the double play because of the double clutch of Alfredo Griffin. You can see bang bang at first, but Strawberry beat it. The double clutch to Alfredo Griffin, or by Alfredo Griffin. It's a good throw from Sachs to the outside. Now watch. Now that little double clutch in the transfer allows Strawberry to beat the play.
Not completely in sync was Griffin as he came across the bag. McReynolds at the plate, takes the strike and the count 0-1. So Kevin, who was 3 for 20 at the beginning of last night's game and then was 4 for 4 with a sacrifice fly, but Hershiser has really had his number. 0 for his last 18 against Oral. 1-1.
He has not had a hit against Hershiser since 1986, when he was a member of the San Diego Padres. So that means he's 0 for the Mets.
Right, I'll tell you what, and if you're pitching and you know that, and I'm sure, I mean, Oral has a little computer he takes and he writes things down. I'm sure that's in there. You get a little nervous sometimes, you say the guys do.
Especially after last night, the way McReynolds was swinging the bat. The count 1-2.
Now, it's funny, you talk to a guy like Kevin McReynolds and you say, why don't you hit Hershiser? He'll say, I never get a good pitch to hit. He probably does, but when he does, he fouls it off. And if you ask Hershiser, he said, I always make good pitches. And so far, he's been able to do that. You can watch Scioscia. You can see if he's happy with where he's throwing the ball just by if he throws it where he moves.
Hershiser working very slowly with Backman at third, Strawberry at first. And the 1-2 pitch, breaking ball inside. It fooled him, but the pitch was in off the plate, and the count 2-2.
Well, again, we talked about throwing a curveball out in front of you. Now he's underneath it. Usually when a pitcher gets under a curveball, another one, he doesn't have his rhythm yet, which is possible, but you can also be tired.
Well, that was a very
7th, 8th innings. Yes.
Very dangerous pitch right there. Scioscia again moving outside early.
Well, from what I've seen, I mean, he does not have a curveball yet, and that's one of his really main pitches. As Mike Schmidt said in the inside pitch, he can get his curveball over any time, any count.
2-2 pitch is hit right into the glove of Hamilton. So it takes him 29 pitches, but he escapes a first inning jam.
Xerox announces a breakthrough in office technology. Ears to listen with, to listen to your wants, your needs, to understand your business environment before we try to fit our products into it. It's a startling new concept in the world of office technology. It's also a promise. Until our ears have done their job, we'll keep our mouths closed. We answer to you.
You got the magic touch. It makes me glow so much. It casts a spell. It rings a bell. The magic touch.
Dodger lineup tonight: Steve Sachs at second base, Mickey Hatcher at first base. 60% of Kirk Gibson bats third and left field. Mike Marshall is in right. Shelby in the number 5 spot with Mike Scioscia. In the 6th spot, Jeff Hamilton, the third baseman, Alfredo Griffin, the shortstop, Oral Hershiser, who escaped a first inning quandary on the mound. Ron Darling To the mound for the Mets. The inside pitch on Ron from Mike Schmidt.
The secret to Ron's success, in my opinion, is his great athletic ability and his attitude. He's one of the best fielding pitchers in the game. He just loves to play. He loves to pitch. He doesn't have overpowering stuff. He relies a great deal on finesse and deception. He has a running fastball that runs in on right-handed hitters and away from left-handed hitters. He must get ahead of hitters so he can stay out of the middle of the plate. His out pitch is his split-fingered fastball. He loves to get ahead of the hitter and get him to chase that split-fingered pitch.
And so here is Ron Darling working for the second time in the series. He was paired with Hershiser on the cold, rainy day, Game 3, Saturday in New York. And he complained about the conditions, thought the game shouldn't have been played, and he can't complain about the conditions tonight. They're perfect.
Now, did spend 2 days in the training room after slipping and sliding his way through 6 innings. It's really hard to judge a guy after he pitched in those kind of conditions, but he did gut it out, didn't get hit hard, but gave up 3 runs. I think the most startling stat is 14-1 at home and only 6-8 on the road with an ERA about almost 5 runs a game.
Steve Sachs takes low, ball 1-0. Sachs, Hatcher, and Gibson in the bottom of the first inning.
I think gut it out is the key for Ron Darling. I think he's done that all season long.
To center field, base hit. Steve Sachs, who has stolen 5 bases in this series and had 42 in the regular season, leads off with a single. And up comes Mickey Hatcher.
Sachs and Darling and Carter, out of the 15 stolen base attempts, only thrown out 2. So everybody says he has a very good move, but takes a long time to get the ball to home plate. So the Dodgers feel they can run on him.
You look at the Mets defensively with Sachs at first base, and the pitch to Hatcher is outside, ball 1-0.
The reason I said that about Darling is because Darling has been pitching with pain this year. His right arm has been bothering him, and yet in 25 of 34 starts, he has worked at least 7 innings.
We're talking about the supposed bone chips that we talked about earlier in the year. And he said one time they can be bothering him because they do float around. He said he'll get into late innings, put his arm up, and he'll just have pain.
Sachs goes, gets a great jump, and it's a base hit down the line and left as Sachs is on his way to third. Hatcher on his way to second with a double.
Amalfitani had held Sachs up at third base before Kevin McReynolds slipped in left field. Sachs had plenty of time to regain his momentum, but with nobody out, you just can't take the chance. Hatcher popping this fastball right down the line by a diving Greg Jeffries. Playing Hatcher in. Sachs 3 steps, he's looking up, and you'll see Amalfitani. When a double is hit down the left field line, you have to be a little more cautious. It's an easier throw for the left fielder, but Kevin McReynolds, in fielding that ball, slipped down. But with nobody out, Amalfitani could not take the chance of sending Sachs.
Why was he playing in? Excuse me, Al.
With the 3, 4, and 5 hitters coming up. Gibson at the plate and takes low, ball 1.
Very unusual place to play a guy like Mickey Hatcher. It's not a bunt situation, not a pull hitter. You play deep, knock that ball down, or you make the play. But
Mets infield playing back, and they'll give up a run on the ground ball and also on a fly ball this deep because backing up is Dykstra. Sachs is tagging, so is Hatcher. Both men advance. The Dodgers lead it 1-0. A bunt, and tonight a 385-foot out to score a run.
Look where the pitch is. Not up like David Cohn pitched him. It's down. He tries to hit this ball a long way. Right down the middle. Outside part. Just missed a home run.
You saw almost no stride at all. That's what Manny Mota and Kirk Gibson were working on in batting practice today. Don't make the weight shift. Just don't stride.
And as was the case the other day, the infield is back with Marshall going after a breaking ball. So Davy Johnson did this the other day. We found it curious, but he got away with it. He was down 2-0 and played the infield back and gave up another run on the ground ball and eventually came back to win the game. But what he's saying here is, I'm giving up a run on a grounder to go down 2-0, which means, of course, you've got to score 3 eventually to win the game.
Well, that was in the 5th inning the other day. In the 1st inning, normally you don't do it. But, of course, everybody knows this is not a normal ball game.
0-1 the count. In the dirt, and that saves a run, and the count 1-1.
Before Marshall came up, Davy Johnson held out 2 fingers of his right hand, which would imply that for the infield to play back until Marshall has 2 strikes. And then you may see the right side or even Elster move in because a hitter is in a more defensive posture with 2 strikes. We'll see.
You think that Davy, who's a computer whiz, knows that Marshall's 3 for 18. You did, and he said, I chase bad pitches. Now, if you have that stat, you might play the infield in.
1-1 the count. And it's grounded foul outside third, so it's 1-2. Now let's look at the infield. Elster's saying to Backman, move in. You're exactly right, Tim. That's what they're doing. With 2 strikes now, the Mets play their infield in.
See, and Marshall chased 2 bad pitches. He said before the game, he says, I have to make him throw me strikes. He wants me to nibble. Of course, he doesn't do that, and now Darling has the edge.
Look how far Hernandez is off at first base.
30 feet. And a very big strikeout. In fact, a huge strikeout here in the 1st inning. With a man at third and 1 out, the infield can play at regular depth now with Shelby coming to the plate.
Well, he likes to get ahead and then throw the split finger. Now, you see the ball, you see the spin on the ball, tumbling. Marshall, look how much he's over that ball.
Boy, that's a great shot of Gary Carter anticipating the split finger fastball down. You could see him going down before the ball even got there, anticipating it down.
Shelby at the plate. And, of course, as far as Carter is concerned, not his best year by any stretch of the imagination, but all of the things that never show up in the box score. That pitch in the dirt, blocking the pitch in the dirt, and the pressure with somebody like Ron Darling and a man at third. Got the corner, 1-1. Ben Hines, the Dodger hitting instructor with Lasorda. And Shelby takes away 2-1.
Well, of all the Met pitchers, especially the starters, probably has the least velocity. That's why it's that important for Ron to stay out of the middle of the plate. So he'll run it away from you, cut it in, throw the split finger and the curveball.
2-2.
And then he throws you, sets you up. He has you looking away, and throws that ball right by you. You consider he won 17 games, which is the most he's ever won in his career with a bad elbow, or at least an elbow that's bothered him off and on. He's had a marvelous year.
Shelby, of course, strikes out a lot, 9 times already in this series. And he lifts this one down the line in right field, and it is a foul ball, just foul.
Oh.
And Paul Runge right on top of it to call it. Lasorda can't believe it. Less than a foot, I would think.
We have had
much less.
2 plays now in this series where a left and right field umpire have come into play. One defensively and one offensively. This ball couldn't have been fouled by more than an inch. Oh, boy.
And you can see Runge holding his fingers slightly apart, indicating to Lasorda by that much. 2-2 the count. The splitter gets him. Shelby strikes out for the 10th time in the series, and at the end of 1, it's the Dodgers 1 and the Mets nothing.
At Chrysler, a new focus has emerged. Today, it's being driven by technology and warranties that go unmatched. The same will be true tomorrow. It's that simple. Chrysler, changing the landscape.
I helped my dad build this place. I was so small I could barely swing the hammer. But he taught me a lot about tools. He used to say, you can buy cheap tools every couple of years, or you can buy Stanley once.
For over 100 years, Stanley hand tools have been helping people do things right. And now you could earn a share of over $100,000 worth of prizes and cash rebates available in the Do It Right with Stanley sweepstakes.
Hey, when I've got brake problems, I don't fool around. So I went to the top guns.
The brake specialists at Midas. Specially trained on brakes, so they'll
do the job right. I mean, you only get one chance on brakes.
Trust them to the top guns, with over 200 shops from coast to coast.
And the Midas brake guarantee. There are a lot of good reasons to
take your brakes to Midas,
but these are the 4 best reasons I have.
Nobody tops the top guns. Nobody.
Don't worry about me.
Red Dog Blue Leader. Red Dog Blue Leader.
We'd like to show how great your favorite movies would look on an RCA, Canada's #1 TV. But we can't, because you're watching this on your old TV. So to see how great the movie could look, come to your RCA dealer. Make RCA your new TV.
A note here for what it's worth in the history of the championship series. Teams scoring the first run in the decisive game have won only 5 of 13. Decisive meaning either the 7th, as is the case now over the last 4 years, or the 5th game, because for the first 16 seasons of divisional play, it was a best of 5. But in the 13 series in which it's gone to that concluding game, the team scoring first has won only 5. Dodgers score first here today, 1-0 in the second inning, with Jeffries leading things off for the Mets. And Hershiser, who labored through the first and escaped unscathed, is 1-1 with him. Jeffries, Carter, and Elster in the second inning. 2-1.
Jeffries has been the most dominating hitter against any pitcher as far as either side is concerned. He has 4 hits against Hershiser and 1 walk.
In the air to deep right center field. Backing up is Marshall. Has a play. Makes the catch on the warning track.
And I'll tell you what, one thing. You got to be a quick study if you're going to be a good pitcher. And Hershiser, who did not get his curveball over, he did get it over to McReynolds, is gone to the changeup. We have not seen him throw a changeup in the first 2 games. And you can see him just a little bit out in front, and that's why this ball doesn't go out of the ballpark. All those hits have been on fastballs. So here's Hershiser, and here's Marshall making the catch. Plenty of room. It's gone to the changeup early.
Gary Carter with 1 out and the bases empty. Pops it in the air. Hatcher should have a play. 2 down. And so Hershiser has retired the last 4 in a row. Remember, he began the game after getting Dykstra. Backman singled and Hernandez walked. He got Strawberry to hit into a force, and McReynolds lined out to end the top of the first. So 2 down now in the second inning, and Elster is the batter.
It's great when he describes his early, I guess, athletic background. He said, I finished first in the Persona hit, run, and throw contest, and then it was all downhill till I got to the major leagues.
Elster takes a strike. Hershiser made his major league debut on September 1st of 1983. And interestingly, Darling made his big league debut 5 days later. So 2 men with similar experience locked up in 1 game for the pennant. 1-1 the count. And there's Darling on deck. Elster playing the last 2 nights because Howard Johnson has slumped through the series, 1 for 17. So Davy Johnson brings Elster in off the bench. 2-1.
That could present a problem. I don't know if Hershiser, he's only pitched once against the Dodgers, but you don't pitch against the guy, and Elster has hit 9 home runs. You don't know where to go.
Elster has more home runs against the Dodgers than any other Met. Very surprising. 3 home runs for the year against Dodger pitching.
He had 9 overall this season, and the count 3-1.
So now you're 3-1. You know Elster's probably looking for a fastball, and you don't know what kind of bat speed he has.
Let's say throw him a fastball right now, right down the middle of the plate.
In there, 3-2.
I mean, if you can't throw an 8th-place hitter a fastball in your Oral Hershiser, you really limited yourself.
No, but what I'm saying is that you're a little bit wary only because you haven't pitched against the guy before, and that you just don't know where his power is, whether he's a low ball hitter or a high ball hitter.
That's a liner by Sachs and out into right field for a base hit. So on a 3-2 pitch, Kevin Elster prolongs the inning. If nothing else, even if Darling goes out, that's a big hit in the sense that it turns the lineup over. It would mean Dykstra would start the next inning instead of Darling.
Right. Sandy Koufax used to talk about that. He said, if you get the eighth hitter out, then you have the pitcher leading off the inning, and he can get out the 1 and 2 hitter. You always have the 3rd hitter, who's your best average hitter, leading off 2 innings down the road. He's going to try to hit home runs instead of singles.
Darling, good hitting pitcher, squibs one toward third, fielded by Hamilton, and his throw off the bag, but Hatcher makes the catch and steps on first, and down go the Mets in the second. Still 1-0 Los Angeles.
At Speedy Muffler King, time is money. Speedy will fix your muffler problems in 30 minutes, or will pay you $5 for every extra 15 minutes you wait. So if you sign your estimate, say, at 20 after 3, you will be done by 10 to 4. Yeah, 1:30 would, no, 2 o'clock would, 6 bells, right after lunch.
1, 2, 3. I said, doctor, doctor, PhD, doctor. Now can you tell me just what I need, doctor? And he said, Mr. Submarine. Wow! Good loving. Now give me that good loving. Good loving. Mr. Submarine. Good loving. Give me that good loving. Mr. Submarine.
It's wild, it's wacko, it's crazy Kelly's Electronic Madhouse. Shocking values at maniac prices like this wacko-priced VCR. It's just $2.99. Or this 26-inch color console at only $4.97. And this unbelievably priced microwave for just $99. And listen to this. Crazy Kelly's will deliver your purchase within 24 hours or it's yours free. That's right, free. So bring Grandma, bring your Aunt Gertie, and bring your little dog Spot.
Check your phone book for the Crazy Kelly's nearest you.
Le courrier du Canada, Monsieur le Président.
There are many good wines in France, like Entrelac, dry, crisp, brilliant.
C'est incroyable.
But Entrelac isn't made in France. It's made in the French style, in Canada.
If I were in charge of Speedy Muffler King, I'd invent the best guarantee in a business.
Introducing the exclusive Speedy 110% satisfaction guarantee. Get your money back plus 10% if you're not satisfied.
You can't beat the best.
Beautiful view of downtown Los Angeles. Sunset. And this play ending the top of the second inning.
And an errant throw, and threw one away last night. Doesn't seem very relaxed at third.
He's got company, too.
Yes.
There's Steve Sachs trying to relax Jeff, and so's Mickey Hatcher. Well, that's a great shot there.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of times it just takes the
breath.
first ball, yeah. I mean, this is what they said last night about Dave Cohn.
Want to know, I loved it. They asked all of the Mets, what'd you say to Cohn last night when they gathered around him after the 2 walks? Some of them were trying to pump him up, and others were trying to calm him down.
Well, yeah, Hernandez is yelling at him. Carter says, just take it easy, take a deep breath. Backman says, are you all right? I mean, of course, this is after he threw 8 straight balls.
Whatever that group therapy was last night, it sure worked. 2-0 pitch taken for a strike. 2-1 on Socha.
You know, all the self-help books that came out in the 70s, you know, saying you got to be honest with yourself, face reality and all that. This one game, bananas on that.
Right.
You got to trick yourself is what you got to do. You got to be a master of self-deceit.
I like what you said at the beginning tonight. You've got to get down and not up.
Yeah, that's right.
3-2 the count.
Everybody says you got to look yourself in the mirror. You don't dare look in a mirror. You're liable not like what you see before a game like this.
Jeff Hamilton is the perfect example of a guy who's got to get himself down a little bit right now. 3-2 pitch is grounded toward the hole. Base hit. A second inning leadoff single for Mike Socha. 3 hits now off Ron Darling. And Jeff Hamilton comes to the plate.
Batting seventh.
Wally Backman plays closer to second base because he doesn't go to his right as well as he goes to his left.
But also, Timmy, when you get a 3-2 count, you know a guy's going to throw a strike. You have to think maybe Socha's going to pull the ball.
Cheat a little more. You saw a ball like Mickey Hatcher last night hitting a ball into right field. Well, Hernandez, of course, gives him that ability to play, that independence, really, to play closer to second because Keith can range so far to his right. That's helped Backman a lot. But still, you'll see him closer to second than straight away at second.
Hamilton at the plate. 1-0 the count. Jeffries is even with the bag at third, looks into the dugout now and wants to see where Davey Johnson wants him positioned. Remember the other night, a tip-off here in a bunting situation when I asked Lasorda why he had Sharperson hit for Hamilton in a curious move in Game 4. He said Hamilton can't bunt, even though he did have 2 sacrifices this season. And the count 2-0.
Of course, where to play, whether you're a middle infielder or third or first baseman, is one of the most difficult things that a young player has to contend with. And we saw Jeffries, I thought he was out of position playing Hatcher that close in. And of course, now he has to look in the dugout. You want me up or in or back? I mean, when you have a guy like Brooks Roberts, you never ever think about that because he's always playing, it seems, where the ball's going to be hit.
We talk about Brooksy 4 years ago. Greg Jeffries was in high school, playing in a high school tournament for Sierra High in San Mateo. Here it is. He's playing the 7th game of the playoffs.
Base hit into left field. Socha will stop at second, and it's already 4 hits in an inning plus off Darling.
And how did they get him? He goes 3-2 on Socha. He goes 2-0 on Hamilton. And the key to Darling, he cannot. And you see Mel Stottlemyre right on the phone. They're not going to wait.
And they've got Dwight Gooden and Sid Fernandez available in the bullpen between innings. They went to the pen, and you will only see that in a 7th game, be it a championship series or a World Series. This was 2 minutes ago. Mackey Sasser, the catcher, with Fernandez on a coffee break. And the doc himself going to the bullpen.
The thing about it is, though, both of them are starting pitchers, and they're used to warming up for 15 minutes. You may not have that time now.
Here's Griffin up there to bunt. Bunts, and it drops safely. Base hit. With Hernandez backing up to the bag. Darling unable to get over there. It found the empty spot, and the bases are loaded with nobody out.
I am really surprised Hernandez wasn't playing even with the bag. He started out playing deep in the position, and Doc Gooden is warming up for the Mets. Hernandez is back. This ball normally caught. Darling breaks toward third, and Hernandez caught in between a base hit by Alfredo Griffin.
10-time Gold Glover got a little bit confused because Darling, and you can see his anger, he knows his position is towards the third base line. We've always talked about how Hernandez's quick move towards third base always gives him an advantage to throw a runner out. Didn't do it then.
Here comes Stottlemyre. Hirsch eyes to the batter. Darling has faced 8 batters. He's given up 4 singles, a double, and a sacrifice fly. Still, he trails only 1-0 in a jam in the 2nd inning. I asked Gooden before the game, how long would it take you to warm up? He said, what he had hoped to do tonight is go down in the second or third inning and loosen up and then be ready in the middle innings. He said, though, if I'm needed in an emergency, it would probably take me 10 to 12 minutes to warm up. Normally about 18, he said.
Well, what always amazes me is, and I started for almost 19 years, is how they think that a starter who's been starting all year is going to go down and acclimate himself to the bullpen when you have a guy like Terry Leach who's done a marvelous job all year long. Maybe for an inning, maybe for an inning and a half or 2 innings, but as a long man, when you pitch a couple days before,
Infield up at first and third, back at short and second, and it's 1-0 on Hershiser.
And of course, what Darling has to do here is minimize the damage. You think it's not easy to pitch in the National League? In the American League, you'd be facing a regular hitter here because of the DH. He's got a chance. Hershiser has not had a good year hitting, but had 19 hits last year, led all National League pitchers.
1-1. For Darling, it's a little bit of deja vu, perhaps. He pitched Game 7 in the 1986 World Series and had to come out after 3 with the Mets trailing the Red Sox. But he was taken off the hook, of course, as the Mets subsequently rallied, thanks mainly to Ray Knight, to win the championship. 1-1 on Hershiser. 1-2.
It's a big opportunity. You made a couple of bad pitches. Defense let you down, but you got a pitcher up there.
Socha at third, Hamilton is at second, and Griffin at first, nobody out.
So if you make the quality pitches, you have a chance to set up a double play with 1 out. Or maybe induce him to hit into 1.
Grounded toward Jeffries at third, and he drops the ball, throws to first. No! Everybody safe, 2-0. And there's a rookie thinking about, am I coming home with it? Or what?
Often when that happens, there's a peak. You're peeking at the base that you're going to throw it to instead of looking into the glove. Let's see if Jeff peeks or Greg. Yeah, he's peeking home. He's looking up at home. Watch it again before the ball gets there. See the look up? He was looking at home, and the ball hit the heel of the glove, and he's got to go to first too late.
If he feels it cleanly, he has a chance because Socha was the runner, and all you have to do is get the force at the plate, no tag. And they get nothing. It's 2-0. Sachs is the batter. The Dodgers trying to break it open early. Scored as an error. Another save by Carter.
Now the big problem so far is Darling is not throwing the first strike over. He's falling behind every hitter. Hershiser going down to first base on this and running full tilt. And it looks like when he hits first base that he may have injured the left leg. We'll see.
Bases loaded. Nobody out. And the 1-0 pitch to Sachs fouled away. 1-1.
And most pitchers would not run hard on that ball. They know it's a sure out. He doesn't give it his all. They get an out.
He's running hard. He's thinking about a 5-2-3 double play.
Exactly.
As he's moving down the line.
You can occasionally have mind blanks and forget about that. You know, you think the guy's just coming home, and all of a sudden he does go home, but you get doubled off at first.
Two and 1.
It's just real difficult to make quality pitches when you're always behind. 3-2, 2-0, now 2-1.
Sachs looks for a fastball here.
Oh,
if he doesn't get it, he spits at it.
That's what he got the base hit the first time.
Yep. A 1-0 fastball.
Yep. Trying to hit it right up, back up the middle.
Back up the middle for a base hit. Hamilton comes in to score. Griffin being waved in. The throw to the plate, not in time. 4-0. Davy Johnson to the mound, Ron Darling to the clubhouse. And on 2 days rest, Dwight Gooden, who was warming up, figures to be coming into the game. Hershiser at second base, meanwhile, Hershiser shaken up as we showed you on the replay, and there's Bill Bueller out there to check him out. And a wry little smile, so it's not too serious, but they just want to make sure. Here comes Gooden, 4-0 Dodgers, back after this word from your local station.
The speed of sound. The sound of speed.
Really is hot today.
Oh, sure is. Excuse me. May I interest you gentlemen in a refreshing glass of Mott's Clamato?
Here on the 14th hole?
What a good idea. How? It's easy. I just tapped into the existing plumbing. All I have to do is turn on these taps. Extra spicy out of this one. So that's what those pipes were for.
Mott's Clamato. Now that's a good idea.
It would be interesting to take time in a place like this to see just how many cars got here because of bad brakes. Most people just worry about whether their car will start and go. They don't worry enough about whether or not it will stop. And not stopping can get you into a lot more trouble than not starting. At One Stop Brake, we specialize in that ounce of prevention. Your one stop for total brake service.
We interrupt this program to confirm that reported sightings of giant pan-shaped objects over our city are true. Eyewitnesses have been left speechless by the sheer size. We implore everyone not to panic. Experts urge you to arm yourselves with a knife and fork and report to a Mother's Restaurant immediately. This could mean the end of pizza as we know it. Oh my God, I don't believe it. Where's my knife and fork? My knife and fork.
Pizza Specialissimo, new at Mother's.
We mentioned Sachs looking for a fastball. Look how hard he hits this ball because Darling almost catches it. Good reflexes. The ball's just hit so hard it's by him into center field.
Darling backing up home, and watch the play as Griffin crosses home plate. Initially, I thought Carter's foot tripped him, but from this angle it doesn't appear that that's the case. He just took that last long stride and the left foot just dragged across home plate.
Meanwhile, Hatcher bunts foul outside third. When we went to commercial, Bill Bueller was out checking out Hershiser, and when Gooden came in to pitch, Hershiser was able to go to the bench for a couple of minutes. And of course, with Hershiser moving down to first base to beat the throw from Jeffries, and we showed you the replay, and I don't know, that's not really a limp, it's just his gait there. But it's interesting that he did not attempt to go to third when the throw came through to try to get Griffin at home. He opts to remain at second and
now
not extend it.
Now he's got to run hard on the bunt.
Right. Except Hatcher swings away and grounds it to the right side. The runners advance as Backlund throws him out. And the runners moving as Hatcher is able to move them over on what amounts to a swinging bunt.
Yeah, he moves them over so they can walk Gibson.
Actually, the runners were running then. That is one of those rare hit and runs that managers talk about in spring training and rarely execute. Hatcher can handle the bat very well. Hershiser and Sachs taking off. You can gamble when you're up by 4, and that's Tommy Lasorda's intention right here, to gamble and try to blow the Mets out as early as he can.
Except I mean, Hatcher may have had a chance to get a hit, but he, in essence, gives himself up, so you know they're going to walk Gibson.
You got your number 4 hitter up there, though.
Right, and one pitch gets you out of the inning, so
one pitch blows it out, too.
That's true.
20 home runs on the year for Marshall, and he's having a good series. Interesting game, isn't it?
Maybe that's because I never threw a grand slam and I never wanted to have the bases loaded.
Well, Marshall will come up with the bases loaded, facing Dwight Gooden, making his first ever relief appearance. And if you follow the Mets through the years, you know that they protected Gooden's arm. They never wanted him to pitch on 3 days rest. It was always 4. And now he's forced to pitch on 2.
Another example of that is he's only had 1 regular season game where he's pitched more than 9 innings. He did pitch 9 2/3 innings, or 9 1/3 at Shea against Houston in the '86 playoffs.
Not to mention they really watch his pitch count, because he's a high fastball strikeout type of pitcher, has a tendency to throw more pitches than other pitchers would normally do.
Mike Marshall, as you can see, he finally figured Gooden out to some extent in the last couple of seasons. Infield double play depth. 1 out, 4-0 Dodgers. Strike. 0-1. Breaking pitch.
Well, it might be because Marshall's really cut down on his swing because of the back injury. He used to take a big long stride and come back. Now he looks almost like a right-handed Stan Musial from a stance standpoint.
That's grounded to the right side. Backman shovels, and it's a high throw, and they don't get anybody. 5-0 as the Mets come apart at the seams in the second inning.
Tell you what happened there. Wally Backman laid back on the ball instead of charging the ball, and by laying back, he didn't give the ball to Elster in time, and Elster has one eye on Gibson. Watch. Little soft toss, and Elster's just thinking about one, and in the transfer, he drops the ball. If Backman charges that ball, then he has a chance for the underhanded play.
Well,
what an effort by Kirk Gibson.
Yeah, too far to throw the ball underhanded.
Yep.
We saw Steve Sachs last inning throw it overhanded. Didn't get the double play, but got the out.
Still the bases loaded as Shelby swings and misses. He's the 9th man to come up in a nightmarish second inning for the Mets. Their second error. They're down 5-0. And the Dodgers still with the bases loaded and only 1 out. And it's 0-2.
Shelby is the type of hitter you want up here, especially if you're the Mets, because he is a strikeout guy. 128 during the year. He struck out 9 times during this playoff.
I know one thing on that last play, you'd never know that Gibson has that hamstring problem. It was almost as if he was cured in a second. 1-2. I mean, we've been watching him for the last 2 nights when he's been limping, and it's affected his swing, but he looked like he was 100% healthy going between first and second. Mind over matter, I guess. I don't know.
Mind over tendon.
Yeah. One and 2 the count. To deep left center field, backing up is McReynolds, deep enough to score a run. Sachs comes in to score. Gibson's going to third, and Marshall goes to second. A sacrifice fly, and it's 6-0.
Well, he gets the ball up in the strike zone, and he hits it deep to left field, and that's right here. Gibson limps a little bit, but great speed. You know he's going to tag up. Marshall also tags up and gets into scoring position.
And the crowd boos the intentional walk to Socha, who began this parade with a single to right against Darling, and now Hamilton will come up with the bases loaded to become the 11th Dodger to bat in the second inning.
Tell you, you have heard of hills to climb. Well, the Mets collectively are facing the south wall of Everest. I'll tell you that.
Third baseman, Jeff Hanover.
Straight up.
Hamilton. He singled in the second inning in this inning. Gibson is at third. Marshall at second. Socha at first. 2 down. Oh and 1. Sunday night at about 11 o'clock, Davy Johnson's team was 3 outs away from going up 3-1 in the series. That was a long, long, long time ago. One and 1.
And the Dodgers, with all of that energy, poured it into 6 runs, 3 in the third, 3 in the fourth, Monday afternoon, and beat the Mets 7-4. And part of that was the energy from the night before, the momentum.
Saved again by Carter. 2-1 the count. Gooden has never relieved in his professional career, minors or majors. Foul tip, and it's 2-2.
That's what makes it so difficult for him to assume this role. He's never, ever known what his arm's going to feel like 2 days after he started to try to get a hitter out.
Two and 2 the count, 2 out. Bases loaded, second inning, 6-0 Dodgers. Got him. But the Dodgers send up 11. Score 5 to the third we go. The crowd going wild.
You know how to take care of business when you play for keeps. You find your own way on the country road or on the city street. And when it comes to your favorite beer, you know just where you stand. You reach for that long neck bottle, you're a genuine Bud man. But only one beer will do. But this Bud's for you.
Putting cars through their paces like this is what gives us the confidence to back our vehicles with the best warranty in the business. That's the Mazda way. Is there any other way? If you've told the world you'd never drive a van or a station wagon, but you still need something that'll move 7 people, I can't wait to show you the new Mazda MPV. Did you see it? Come on, guys. Once more. Show them again. Come on.
The Esso No Trouble gasoline actually cleans carburetors and fuel injectors as you drive. Now, if some people had a little less trouble believing that, they might have a little less trouble.
Braun brings you freedom from the ordinary with built-in electronics for cordless shaving. Braun System 1, 2, 3. Full cordless power for a faster, smoother shave. A closer, comfortable shave, even on difficult areas. precision control for sideburns or mustache. Braun System 1, 2, 3. Rechargeable power. Exceptional performance.
Yes, this is the team that led the National Leagues in fewest errors. And right here, there's got to be a miscommunication. Darling's going to third. Hernandez thinks he's coming to first. The ball falls safely.
Here's the play with the bases loaded. Jeffries peeking up at the runner at third, and the ball hits the heel of the glove, and the throw late to get Hershiser at first.
And here a routine play, except he shovels it underhand instead of overhand off the bag. And Elster, he would have off the bag anyway. He's going to be safe. He never assumed that the umpire was going to call that, but it appeared that the throw was so far offline, he would have been safe anyway.
All right, now let's see about Hershiser. It's been a long time since he's been on the mound. He's also rounded the bases, and he's thrown a lot of pitches through 2 innings. So that's the little ray of good news for the Mets right now.
Yeah, but the bad news is Len Dykstra swinging at the first pitch with a 6-run deficit here. Particularly in lieu of the fact that Hershiser has a sore leg. You got to make him pitch.
He was shaking his leg when he warmed up.
0-1 pitch. Dykstra runs up to bunt and doesn't commit, and the count is 1-1.
Now it's the right leg, the one he pushes off of. Take a look again, very compact windup. Look at his right leg. Doesn't appear to bother him right now. He's a straight leg pitcher. He's not like a Tom Seaver, a drop and drive type pitcher.
2-1 on Dykstra. Bud Harrelson and Gary Carter and Kevin McReynolds. In the 3rd inning in Los Angeles, Dodgers on top 6-0. Off the glove and out into center field. Hershiser just tipped it, but really couldn't slow it down. And Dykstra starts the 3rd inning with a single. So Len is on, and it brings up Wally Backman.
Second baseman.
Well, again, Lenny, and that's an unusual swing. He fakes a bunt. Again, it's a 2-1 count, so he could afford to do that. Bring the third baseman in, and then hits a ground ball up the middle.
You remember we talked about it last night, about how he tries to drive it by the third baseman. That play, it hits Hershiser in the right foot.
Yeah, I thought it tipped off the glove. It actually hit him at the bottom of the shoe. 1-0 the count on Backman.
But that was that movement we were talking about with Dykstra in the batter's box. That unusual thing. He tries to suck the third baseman in to hit it by him.
Backman lifts it in the air to left field. Gibson is there. 1 out. 1 gone with Dykstra at first. And that'll bring up Keith Hernandez, who drew a walk in the 1st inning.
If the Mets score 2 or 3 runs now, they can erase some of that heading backwards or being pushed backwards by the Dodgers. But they have got to erase that 5-run second some way. You can't do it by coming up empty here in the 3rd.
And they have Hernandez, and then Strawberry follows him, and McReynolds.
Well, again, it depends what approach you take as a hitter. You know, if Backman hits fly balls, then you know that's counterproductive because he's a ground ball hitter. Hernandez has to do what he does best, just go for singles. And just think of the luxury that Hershiser has. I mean, he's been in almost all the games he pitched down the month of September, down the stretch, were close ball games. First game, 2-run lead for 8 innings. He only got him 3 runs in the 2nd game. Excuse me, got him 4. Left with a 4-3 lead before the Jay Howell incident. So he knows one mistake can't beat him tonight.
The big thing from the Mets standpoint is you can't try to get them all back at once. You're not going to do that. We used the football analogy the other day, and it's the same as a quarterback not going for the bomb every time to overcome maybe a 20-point deficit early in the 3rd quarter.
Well, there's no such thing as a 6-run homer. So it's a point well taken. Dykstra at first base. Jeffries. He's been to the top and the bottom in a very short period of time. He's experienced the heights and the depths in 5 weeks as Hernandez hits it foul down the line, and the count 1-2.
course, when you look at last night's ball game, how did the Mets get their runs? They were aggressive. 6 runs takes a lot of aggression away from an offensive attack. Can't hit and run, can't steal.
Hatcher still holding Dykstra on at first base. That's interesting with a 6-run lead.
I would think that the Dodgers feel if they're going to give him second base, he's going to take it here. And so they do have Hatcher holding on, but again, it opens up the right side of the infield.
Well, how about one step behind him? Of course, Hatcher, again, hasn't played first base that much. A little bit better chance to get a grounder in the hole. Stay away from the big inning.
2-2 pitch is grounded down to Sachs. He goes to Griffin 1, back to first, double play. At the end of 2 1/2, the Dodgers 6 and the Mets nothing.
Fred, how come your edition looks so great and ours looks like...
Maybe it's because I went to Home Hardware.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a do-it-yourselfer's paradise, Ellen. Aisles of piping, fixtures, wiring, helpful tips, terrific prices.
Fred, what are all those people doing in your backyard?
Home dealers.
Oh.
I don't know about your store, Helen, but those 900 dealers bring home everything for the do-it-yourselfer.
Home Hardware.
In a big way.
Home of the handyman.
Could we borrow some of those dealers?
Well, I think so.
To most of the civilized world, a coffee crisp is a nice light snack. All that rich, bubbly filling between crisp wafers covered with a chocolatey coating. And now that coffee crisp is bigger, there's more of that great taste to enjoy. So now almost everybody would agree, a coffee crisp makes a nice light snack. But there are some notable exceptions.
Oatservin. Oatravin. When your nose is stuffed up, open up fast with Oatravin.
You see, Bradisol comes in several favorite flavors. It's been a trusted sore throat remedy for over 20 years. It better work fast.
Bradisol medicated lozenges start soothing sore throats instantly.
Okay? My throat feels better.
Ready to serve Quaker oatmeal comes in flavors so good that you know what we're gonna do, Timmy?
What?
We're gonna make a
hot cereal lover round of you. Out of me? Out of him? With apples and cinnamon. Apples and cinnamon? Raisins and spice. Raisins? Maple and brown sugar. And everything nice. We're gonna make a hot cereal lover round of you. With ready to serve Quaker oatmeal. You did it!
A new generation of Canadian figure skating champions takes on the world at the Sun Life Skate Canada International beginning October 28th here on CTV.
Six to nothing. The Dodgers on top. And what about Kirk Gibson? If you're Tommy Lasorda, the way Gibson's reacting here, Lasorda may be telling him he's going to put Gonzalez into the lineup. When we go to the 4th inning, we'll see. Griffin grounds out on the first pitch in the bottom of the 3rd. And it will bring up Oral Hershiser. A reminder coming up on Saturday, college football. 3rd-ranked USC hosting Washington. Or Michigan takes on Iowa at 3:30 Eastern time. Now, Tim, if you're Lasorda, what do you do here? It's 6 to nothing. You've got the gimpy Gibson, even though he obviously has run very well tonight. You've got Jose Gonzalez, an outstanding defensive outfielder. What do you do?
I think if there's any doubt as to whether he can go full speed like he did to second base, you take him out and play a defensive game even though it's the 3rd inning. I mean, it's not like Gonzalez has no experience as a major leaguer. He's been up parts of 3 seasons, and I think he'll be in the game in the top of the 4th.
1-2 the count.
You got 6 innings left, and you want the best defense you can throw out there, even at the risk of sacrifice. I mean, Gibson's already been the inspiration for 6 runs to be scored, or at least the case can be made for that.
And also, you don't want to jump the gun, but you've got to keep in mind, hey, you got a pretty good chance to go to the World Series right now, and why take that extra little chance and maybe lose him? Backman throws Hershiser out. Oral only going about halfway down the line to first, so he took that play off. But if ever a guy deserved to, it's him here. 2 down. Gibson and Charlie Strasser.
This is almost as big as a debate as we're going to have tomorrow night. It's a monumental decision here.
But you know that Gibson doesn't want to come out. But his body language indicates to us that Lasorda has already told him. Sacks at the plate. Knocked down by Gooden. And the Dodgers are gone 1-2-3. To the 4th inning we go. It's the Dodgers 6 and the Mets nothing.
Hey, when I've got brake problems, I don't fool around. So I went to the top guns.
The brake specialists at Midas. Specially trained on brakes, so they'll
do the job right. I mean, you only get one chance on brakes.
Trust them to the top guns, with over 200 shops from coast to coast.
And the Midas brake guarantee. There are a lot of good reasons
to take your brakes to Midas,
but these are the 4 best reasons I have.
Nobody tops the top guns. Nobody.
Eaton's Trans-Canada sale is the one sale with more savings and more selection for more people than any other sale all season. With so many outstanding buys, it's no wonder everyone waits for Eaton's Trans-Canada sale.
Why are your GM dealers #1 in Ontario? Our #1 bestsellers event. Right now, get a $500 bonus credit when you choose from Canada's best-selling family of mid-size cars. New '89 Pontiac 6000, Chevy Celebrity, Buick Century, and Olds Cutlass Sierra. This October, we're stocked up and ready to deal with prices starting from under $16,000 for Celebrity and 6000. Our #1 bestsellers event. Hurry now while selection lasts.
Go GM, dealers right here for you.
When you list your home with the Century 21 office, we look into every nook and cranny. Because to find the right buyer quickly, we've got to know what makes your home special.
Well, I'll pick you up in 10 minutes, and believe me, you're going to love it.
Last year, we put 1.5 million buyers and sellers together, one home at a time.
It's perfect. I do hope he comes with the house.
Century 21, the largest real estate organization in the world.
As we went to commercial, Kirk Gibson done for the night. And you'll see Franklin Stubbs come into view. He'll grab his first baseman's glove. And he'll bat in Gibson's spot, and they'll move Mickey Hatcher to left field. So Gibson goes limping up the runway as we start the 4th inning. Hatcher now in left field. So Mickey moves from first to left. Stubbs in the lineup in the #3 spot. And Strawberry lifts a fly ball to shallow left center field. Shelby, 1 out.
Oh, we speculated about Jose Gonzalez coming into the ball game. And it's kind of an interesting move because Mickey Hatcher is not your best defensive left fielder. If they're going to get Stubbs in there as a left-handed hitter to face a right, I mean, you do have the alternative of Danny Heap.
Yes, who hits much better as a regular player than he does a pinch hitter. And then you save Stubbs if you have to pinch hit. So you only hurt yourself defensively in one place.
Yeah, and you leave Hatcher at first, who appears to be more comfortable than Stubbs has been.
At least of late.
Yeah.
And there's Gonzalez, who would probably, if this lead holds up for the Dodgers, eventually get into the game in the 8th or 9th inning. 0-2.
Of course, who are we to second-guess Tommy? I mean, he's only got a 6-0 lead in the 7th game of the playoffs.
(0-2) pitch. But again, I hope, if nothing else, it puts to rest, win or lose, for Lasorda. And we've touched upon it a couple of times during the series, the fact that Tommy, seated with Joe Amalfitano, a larger-than-life character to a lot of people, and you tend to overlook his managerial skills. But we mentioned in Game 1, his record speaks for itself. Finished his first 6 times in 12 years as a big league manager, 5 times in 8 years as a minor league manager. 2 other times with the Dodgers. The team goes down to the final day of the season. Hit down the line in right field. Stubbs chasing it, but Franklin can't get there. A foul ball. And the count remains 2-2, and a nice hand for Stubbs' effort.
He runs well for a big man. Had 11 stolen bases. Used to play the outfield for the Dodgers, and you can see not only does he have good speed, following the ball all the way just out of reach. I think about a couple of years ago, back in 1986, did a game in Houston. They had Len Matusik playing left field, Franklin Stubbs in center. In right field, they had Mike Marshall and Greg Brock playing first. And they had 4 first basemen playing defense. You wonder why they're a better club this year?
Got him on a breaking pitch. Fooled him, and down he goes. And McReynolds more frustrated over the score than anything else, because there was no doubt about that pitch.
It's a combination of both of them. This ball does not break. It's they call a hanging curveball, just a backup curveball, and apparently Wendelstedt thought it got the inside corner. I think Kevin thinks the ball was high. You don't see emotion from him.
Line drive, base hit by Jeffries with 2 out here in the 4th inning. The strikeout of McReynolds was the first for Hershiser. So Jeffries with a single. The Mets have 4 hits, but Hershiser has spaced them. 1 single in each of the first 4 innings, and up comes Gary Carter.
I'll tell you can't help but be impressed by the heart of Kirk Gibson. I mean, here's a guy on a 3-year contract the first year, and it's very comfortable nowadays for people to criticize athletes with long-term contracts. But here's a guy you'd never know that Kirk Gibson has a long-term contract. You would think the way he's been playing that his contract's run out and he's seeking something.
Gardner hits a 2-bouncer to Griffin. He makes the play himself. Mets down in the 4th after 3.5. Dodgers 6, Mets nothing. Back at Dodger Stadium after this word from your local station.
Hey, when I've got brake problems, I don't fool around. So I went to the top guns.
The brake specialists at Midas. Specially trained on brakes, so they'll
do the job right. I mean, you only get 1 chance on brakes.
Trust them to the top guns, with over 200 shops from coast to coast.
And the Midas brake guarantee. There are a lot of good reasons to
take your brakes to Midas,
but these are the 4 best reasons I have.
Nobody tops the top guns. Nobody.
Brian has been a fisherman for a long, long time. He protects his fishing equipment with Esso oils. And this beautiful piece of equipment with Esso Protec. Esso's best engine protection. Protec. It's right in the name. It's right for your car's engine. Protec. Esso's best engine protection.
A seafood restaurant tells us their Toshiba microwave has cooked 80,000 perfect meals. These volunteers will help us verify this feat of dependability. Next.
How much power can you pack into a bookshelf stereo?
The Dodgers with a run in the 1st and then 5 in the 2nd when they sent 11 men to the plate. Lead 6-0. As you look down from the Goodyear Blimp, Columbia. Dodger Stadium. Sort of reminiscent right now of the way Royal Stadium felt in the 7th game of the 1985 World Series, when the Kansas City Royals exploded early and eventually blew out the Cardinals 11-0.
The Dodgers have a pitcher that remembers that game, John Tudor.
Absolutely, who was the starting pitcher that night. And before that night was done, Tudor was getting stitched up in the hospital after punching an electric fan. Hatcher hits one off the end of the bat on the ground to second, and Backman throws him out. One away in the fourth inning, and it will bring up Franklin Stubbs.
First baseman, Franklin Stubbs.
That's what a good curveball do to you. Timmy has said all during the series, just a free swinger. Ball he hit the second base, that'll be about 4 inches outside.
Franklin Stubbs now hitting in Gibson's spot. And it was Stubbs who started this series. You'll recall he was the opening night first baseman. And tried to bunt at a very curious time, and that, as much as anything else, caused Lasorda to remove him from the lineup. It's funny how you don't forgive somebody with an average of around 225, and then last night, I mean, what's Lasorda going to say when everybody says to him, what in the world was Gibson doing in the first inning? Tommy backed him to the hilt. 1-1.
So did Davy Johnson. Didn't want to get him angry. He said, I assume he's trying to get him over. Because I think the bunt that he failed to have later on in game one was even worse. He didn't execute a bunt in a sacrifice situation.
Ripped into left center for a base hit. Franklin Stubbs with a one-out single in the fourth inning.
Right fielder, Mike Marshall.
And Mike Marshall coming up. Johnson has to think about Gooden now. He's batting second in the top of the fifth inning.
Oh, fastball hitter usually likes the ball down, but if you're going to swing at the high fastball off Dwight Gooden, you better try to go the other way, and he does. Much better fastball hitter than breaking ball hitter.
Mike Marshall 0 for 2. Tries to check his swing. 0-1.
I'll tell you, I couldn't help but look at those two cards next to the Mets lineup, the ace and queen of spades. You see right between Mel Stottlemyre and Davy Johnson. And we alluded to it last night, the queen being 13 points in a Hart game. And I'll tell you what, that queen of spades has taken on a different significance with the Mets trailing 6-0.
At the moment, I think somebody sneaked a joker in there. That's grounded down to Backman. He shovels to Elster and back to first, and this time they turn it. And at the end of 4, it remains Dodgers 6, Mets nothing.
Now you can get a lot more than you're expecting for a lot less than you think. The 1989 Hyundai Excels have arrived. Now you can excel in an Olympic sport. Just as only a chosen few can compete in the Olympics, so will only a very few own the 1989 limited edition Olympic Excel at your Hyundai dealer now.
Even if an antifreeze could prevent freezing on Pluto, it's not enough. Because today's engines built with more alloy and aluminum are threatened by corrosion that can destroy your engine. Motomaster Antifreeze is formulated to help stop corrosion. So get Motomaster Antifreeze, because it's not your engine freezing on Pluto you have to worry about. It's corrosion right down here on Neptune.
Motomaster, built tough, back tough. Available at Canadian Tire.
What is a dangling modifier? It means it's dangling. It's almost there, but at any second it could fall off. Risha?
I'm not ready! Seems like we've been friends forever. Yada, yada, you always do that to me. Always there, rooting for each other. Yada, 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 come on and celebrate. Good time, great taste, with my best friend at our place. A good time, great taste of McDonald's.
This Halloween, Hershey is giving lots of money to UNICEF. You can help give to UNICEF too when you buy Hershey. To help UNICEF, get great Hershey stuff like Reese's, Lifesavers, Lanterns, Glosettes, Score, Twizzlers, and Oh Henry. Oh Henry! for helping UNICEF.
Dodgers leading by a score of 6-0 in Game 7. With the pennant at stake and Hershiser on the mound and 58 pitches for Earl through 4.
And the changeup, I think he's thrown maybe a few more of those, and that's the big difference. Has not thrown any changeups. Saw that his curveballs were not going over early. Went to that, got out of some trouble, and now he's got a 6-run lead.
And Elster will lead off, and then Magadan will come up to hit for Gooden. And then we'll see Dykstra, the 8, 9, and 1 spots in the order. The Mets with 4 hits, all singles, 1 in each of the first 4 innings. As Elster takes a strike. 0-1. So Magadan will be next. 6 runs, 7 hits, and no errors for the Dodgers. No runs, 4 hits, and 2 very costly errors for the Mets. Squibb, backhanded by Hershiser. 1 gone. You lead 6-0, you can smile.
Take a look at very compact windup, as I said. Good curveball. Not in great fielding position, but the ball's not hit hard right off the end of the bat.
Number 29.
Little hot dog, but 6-run lead, and you make a good pitch, and you get a little bounder back to the mound. You got to be happy.
Hershiser, a remarkable athlete, played for the Philadelphia Flyers junior hockey team. He's a scratch golfer.
Well, not scratch 4, but that's scratch enough.
That's scratch to me, baby.
He said when you're a kid, he said, I had a lot of problems. He said, who wants a kid that wears glasses and arms hang down to their knees on your team? What's amazing about him, if you watch his windup, posture is so important on a pitcher, and one of the keys is your opposite shoulder. You always have to eventually get that down. Look at the way he kind of just leans forward, so he's in the proper position to release the ball. Talk about efficiency of emotion. Again, the tuck, it reminds me a lot of Don Sutton. A little bit different variety of pitches. Don didn't throw a sinker, but Don with well over 300 wins. What you do is you put the pressure on the back muscles. They're much stronger than your arm. Because if you fall on your heels, you look at Bob Ojeda on your right, Keith Hernandez. Bob Ojeda, who of course had the injury to his finger, said he thought he'd be throwing in 3 weeks.
Here's the 1-2 to Magadan. Got him. Changed up on him, and down he goes, and it's 2 strikeouts for Orel Hershiser. So 2 away with the bases empty in the 5th inning. Gary Carter, knowing his team is down by 6 with 2 out in the 5th inning, and Dykstra coming up, and Hershiser on the mound, and Howell ready in the bullpen if needed down the line. And on the road. And it's funny, and we talked about it to an extent last night, how insignificant what happened in the regular season becomes in postseason. To left field and racing over is Hatcher, and he makes the catch. At the end of 4½, it's the Dodgers 6 and the Mets nothing.
The car is ready, man. And here's your guarantee.
Thank you. When I need to buy something, I shop around. So when I find quality, professional workmanship, a guarantee, and a competitive price all at one place, you can bet I'll tell my friends. Hey, friends, see the man you can trust, the Muffler Man.
Mountain climbing in Ontario can be exhilarating, beneficial for the body and for the soul, not to mention what it can do for your state of mind. Money Mountain Instant Lottery. Millions of prizes. Match 3 and win up to $50,000 instantly.
The new Mazdas have arrived. And if this is your year for a new car, this year, make it a Mazda. Every one of these superbly engineered cars and trucks comes with Mazda's 5-year, 100,000-kilometer warranty, including 3 years, 80,000 kilometers, bumper to bumper. It's more than just a good warranty. It's the best warranty in the business, protecting your investment the Mazda way. Why settle for less? This year, make it a Mazda.
Parents, they think they know everything. But if they went back to school, they'd realize it's not all fun and games. And they'd think twice about what they pack in their lunch. Like, ta-da, new apple snacks. Real apples, real fruit. Blended together in 5 saucy fruit flavors any kid would love. So, who packed your lunch? New apple snacks. Real apples, real fruit, real yum.
More students, more mayhem, and more laughs at good old Hillman College. A Different World, tomorrow night on CTV.
In Los Angeles, Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver, with Terry Leach coming in to pitch for the Mets. Oral Hershiser shutting out the Mets through 5. Dodgers all smiles on top 6-0. Started to mention about the insignificance of the regular season. The big storyline coming into this series. The two teams during the regular year, the Mets winning 10 out of 11. The Dodgers limited to 18 runs. And how insignificant that all seems right now. The Dodgers 4 innings away from 1974 redo as they would take on the Oakland A's in the World Series, and it would start here on Saturday. John Shelby leads things off. Has struck out and hit a sacrifice fly. Oh, 2.
Such a deceptive windup. Terry Leach is a submariner. Won 10 games in a row for the Mets last year as the starter. 11-1 on the year total.
1-2 the count.
See too many pitchers that throw from this delivery point way down. Watch his right knee. You can see the dirt spot on it.
Two and 2 the count.
I'll tell you, if you're the Dodgers right now, you want to finish the Mets off. You want to knock them out. The Mets are a staggering boxer in the 12th round right now. There's still a chance. And I'm sure Tommy Lasorda would feel more comfortable with 3 or 4 more runs.
Shelby down on strikes. You know, the other night when Mike Scioscia hit the home run and he comes up to bat here, if this series is a seesaw, this is what tilted one side to the other. This was it. 9th inning, man on after the walk to Shelby, off Gooden into the bullpen. And before the night was done and into the next morning, after 12 o'clock, it was the home run by Gibson, the save by Hershiser, the victory later that day in Game 5, and that's when the series turned.
If the Dodgers do win, Mike Scioscia could be the MVP of the series. He led off the 5-run second tonight.
Well, you'd have a few candidates, even though Gibson's average is extremely low. Obviously, 2 very key hits. And then there's the man on the mound. And even though Oral Hershiser has not won a game in this series, he's had 2 no decisions. He's pitched very well in those starts. He, of course, had that save under extraordinary circumstances the other night. And now he's on the mound tonight. And it's funny, I think, you know, the contrast was interesting in the starting pitching tonight. Ron Darling quoted as saying they never should have played the game and spending time in the trainer's room. And Oral Hershiser threw more pitches under the same conditions on Saturday and came out of the bullpen after midnight on Sunday and warmed up on Monday and said he was ready on Tuesday.
One guy went to Yale, and Oral said he was academically ineligible his first year in college. There's always a saying in baseball, things don't go well, you're thinking too much.
Base hit for Scioscia. So his perfect night continues with 2 singles and a walk. And it will bring up Hamilton. In fairness, though, to Darling, without coming down too hard on Ron, with his arm difficulties, minor as they may be or not be, and we don't know this year, he had a reason to complain a little bit about Saturday.
Oh, he didn't pitch that poorly tonight. Of course, it got behind some hitters, but the defense was deplorable back in the second inning. I mean, you make a combination of bad pitches and then bad defense, and that's how you get a 5-run inning. That's what happened back in the second.
Hamilton at the plate. 0-1. Funny thing about what you anticipate from a team and what the end result is, if the Dodgers had lost tonight, or if they do lose, the season is still a success, and they surprised a lot of people by winning the West when they were picked to finish 4th or 5th. But for the Mets, it's a whole other feeling, because almost everybody expected them to go all the way.
One of the burdens of being picked when you have to and don't. Very, very disappointing.
Well, when you saw a picture of Davey Johnson, I mean, here's a guy that won 90 games in 98, then 106, then 92, and then 100. And most people feel that for him to be rehired, he has to win. At least we've seen no other indication of anything else. Can't be happy at this moment. Of course, he also doesn't play. You know, he puts the lineup up there and hopes they'll play well. That's one of the problems with managing sometimes.
Hamilton stays alive, still 0-2.
I mean, when you think about it, the Dodgers overwhelming underdogs in this playoff series. You take position for position, and a case can be made that the Mets are as good or better than the Dodgers at every position. The Dodgers match up to the Mets as far as starting pitching is concerned, not the bullpen. But it's been the Dodgers' emotion that has gotten them this far, and it could be the thing that finishes the Mets off.
Fouled away, still 0-2. And what's really amazing as far as the Dodgers are concerned, if they go on to win, is to be able to bounce back after as disheartening a loss as Lasorda has ever suffered. Game 1, you've got Hershiser working on a shutout. You're a strike away, and the next thing you know, it's 3-2. And that's about as down as you can be when you come to the park the next day.
And that's when we have to remember the great job that Tim Belcher did. He's won 2 games. He's gotten some run support, but for a rookie pitcher to come in under those circumstances and pitch that type of game, which 10 strikeouts is all-time high in the major leagues, quite a performance.
To McReynolds in left. And Kevin puts it away for the second out. So 2 down here in the 5th inning with Socha at first base. And that'll bring up Alfredo Griffin.
Now you could take that 2 steps further, actually. What about the Dodgers in Game 4 bouncing back after Jay Howell was suspended by National League President Bart Giamatti? And tonight, another situation. David Cone pitches a masterpiece last night. And everybody once again says, well, the Mets are ready for the knockout punch or whatever it is. And the Dodgers are ahead 6-0. So really 3 games that they've come back after victories by the Mets.
And there is David Cone, who went to the mound last night, staggering at the start. But when it was all over, he had the only complete game in the series, a 5-1 masterpiece to keep them alive. One and 1 to count. If you missed it before the game, Johnson without a contract for next year, and the Mets holding that in abeyance until after postseason play. And I asked Davey if he felt a win tonight was necessary to come back next year. He said he'd hope not. I said, do you want to come back next year? He said, definitely. Remember last year, the Mets went through that situation where they said that Johnson would retire after this season and assist Frank Cashin in the front office, which was a bit of a charade as it turned out. And then this year, both Johnson and Lasorda on last years of contracts. And the Dodgers waited until June, but they wanted to diffuse the issue, and they gave Lasorda a new 2-year deal. 3-1. I remember we did a Monday night game. I came in here, and Lasorda brought it up that night. Not that Tommy was worried about it, but when he brought it up, it told me all I needed to know about the situation and the fact that Lasorda was a little curious himself as to his future with his ball club. Griffin hits it foul, and the count 3-2.
And from what I understand, he and Peter O'Malley were on a talk show, and some fans called up supporting Tommy Lasorda, saying that he deserved a contract. And Peter O'Malley took him to dinner after the show. They talked about it, and from my understanding, that's when they reached an understanding that Tommy should get a 2-year extension, and he signed it.
Over pasta fagioli, you can be sure, in Verdicchio.
That's what he said. Some people do it over drinks. He said, I did it over pasta. Anabolic pasta.
3-2. Socha taking off with the pitch. And Griffin pops it up. Elster on the skin part makes the catch. Dodgers done in the 5th after 5 in Game 7. It remains Dodgers 6, Mets nothing.
Phil runs his own logging business. He protects his equipment with Esso oils, and he protects his pickup with Protec. Esso's best engine protection. Protec. It's right in the name. It's right for your car's engine. Protec. Esso's best engine protection.
Get a university degree paid for. Study history, physics, medicine, engineering, name it. Join students like these who are getting a university degree, a salary, and that important first job, all paid for by the Canadian Armed Forces. Want a degree and a future? We're under recruiting in the Yellow Pages. Choose a career. Live the adventure.
There's heart in this land. It's there in all we do. That's why hands across this country reach for the blue.
At Labatt's, we've had a single goal since 1847, and that's to brew Canada's best tasting beer. That's why we brew Labatt's Blue the Pilsner way, so you can enjoy that clean, true taste.
That's why you call for your blue. It's time to call for the blue.
It's a hot new season on CTV for The Cosby Show. Get out the party hats. There's going to be a celebration in the Huxtable household.
My daughter coming home, spend a little time with us.
Denise isn't here yet. Her plane gets in at 6:30.
All right.
That's right, folks. Denise is back on The Cosby Show tomorrow night on CTV, the choice of Canadians.
You know, Hershiser's been so perfect, especially down the stretch. He didn't look like the Oral Hershiser of September for that first inning or two tonight, Jim, but all of a sudden he got into the groove, and it's amazing what a 6-0 lead will do for you.
Well, he got a 1 run in the first inning and then 5 in the second, and I get the feeling he's like the Clark Kent of pitchers. He shows up with just normal street clothes and glasses, puts on a Dodger uniform and those contact lenses, and then goes out and does what he's done since the end of August.
He's either Clark Kent or Captain Marvel. Shazam, right?
Yes.
He's Mr. Wonderful to Lasorda right now as Backman starts the 6th inning with a ground ball to Sachs. And one second baseman throws out his opposite number, 1 down. Hernandez coming up. Saturday, 3:30 Eastern Time and 12:30 in the afternoon Pacific. Regional action. You'll see either Washington against USC or Michigan against Iowa on ABC's College Football this Saturday. Keith Hernandez walked and hit into a double play. 0-1.
You have to admire his heart, not only for this year and what he's been able to accomplish and what we've seen over the last 10 days, but He was 16-16 last year, lost 8 one-run ball games, 14-14 the year before. Both clubs were 73 and 89, so they were losers. He played 500, which is actually better. Yet he's never changed his style. I mean, Keith Hernandez says, I think he's throwing a little bit harder. Curveball's a little bit sharper. But that might be because of the mental frame of mind. I mean, here's a guy that did so much the last 3 or 4 days, yet he felt great about going out there. Other people would say, oh, I'm a little tired, but I'm going to go out. He just said, hey, I feel great.
No built-in excuse for him, no question.
1-2.
And there's the luxury of being a sinker ball pitcher. I mean, even though I would, you talk about Tommy John's throwing about 82 miles. This Orioles 88, 91 miles per hour. The ball sinks.
Time call. Harry Wendelstedt was looking over into the stands. I don't know if somebody was flashing a mirror or what, but whatever it is, it's been rectified.
You saw that graphic, very interesting. The first pitcher to start 3 games in a National League Championship Series. If he were to have a no decision in this game, he would be the first pitcher to have 3 no decisions as a starting pitcher in the history of baseball in postseason play.
And down goes Hernandez. Strikeout number 3 for Hershiser. Of course, until 85, championship series were only best of 5. But not only does he have 3 starts in this one, he's got that 1 relief appearance.
And that's the last pitch that Keith Hernandez expected. It just freezes him. Hasn't been getting his curveball over. Went to the changeup early. Comes back with a curveball, and you can see the frustration. Didn't expect it.
And if you're a Dodger fan, how much can you love now? 6-0 in front, 6th inning, to all in unison with that mocking Darryl chant enveloping Dodger Stadium. But it may be a love call as well, because he's already gone on record as saying he'd eventually like to play here. Lasorda was looking up. There's something going on in the stands, and we can't see what's going on. And that has caused the last 2 stoppages. Now we're ready again, and the pitch is up high to a chorus of Darryl, 1-0. That's probably a local television crew, I would assume, and a light, and that's the problem. And somebody has to get word to them.
It's either a light or E.T.
I said a Bud Light. Two and 0 the count. And it's 3-0 on Strawberry. Taking all the way, 3-1 with McReynolds on deck.
How about that? Change-up on a 3-1 count with a 6-run lead.
Well, I'll tell you what, he wouldn't have thrown it if he didn't think he'd get it over. But also, good pitchers don't like to give up runs. I don't know if it's a change-up. He's definitely off speed, but maybe just a BP fastball.
At the end of 5½, 6-0 Los Angeles.
Tim Hortons takes a fresh look at donuts. Ours and theirs. Tim Hortons takes a fresh look at people. Our fresh faces have always got a smile for you, like the other folks. It's just that we've got a little more to smile about.
Love is about being alone in the world, together.
It's about going in your own directions.
Knowing you'll meet again.
Love is about being silly.
It's about doing nothing at all, together.
Cuvée de Berceau is a deliciously dry wine, perfect to celebrate each other.
I'd rather be in my Lazy Boy.
Lazy Boy recliners come in many styles and fabrics, including genuine leather.
Fantastic. Left. Will work with me. Beautiful. Right over here. Have a seat.
I'd rather be in my Lazy Boy sofa.
Lazy Boy sofas. Style and comfort, too. Insist on genuine Lazy Boy comfort, quality, and style in recliners, sleep sofas, and sofas.
Strap your snowboards on, grab a stick of juicy fruit. The taste is gonna move ya. Take a sniff, pull it out. The taste is gonna move ya when you pop it in your mouth. Juicy fruit is gonna move ya. It juices off, it gets right to ya. Juicy fruit, the taste is gonna move ya.
The tragedy, the turmoil, the horror of a world at war. It's Herman Wouk's War and Remembrance, premieres November 13th on CTV.
Oral Hershiser to lead things off. The man of the hour at Dodger Stadium in the bottom of the 6th inning. Followed by Sachs and Hatcher. In Game 7, the Dodgers with a run in the first and 5 in the second when they sent 11 men to the plate leading 6-0. And Hershiser tries to bunt his way on 0-1.
Well, he did this game back in Game 3. Of course, it was raining. Talked about last year, 19 hits, led all National League pitchers. This year he hasn't hit that well. A lot of bunts, 19 sacrificed bunts. So while he hasn't had a great year average-wise, he's done his job that you have to do in the National League. Had a great stroke in batting practice, but that doesn't count. No. He wasn't throwing batting practice. What about Terry Leach?
Line to left field and hooking away from McReynolds, but he gets there to backhand it. So Kevin on the run to take care of Hershiser. One down and a huge ovation again for Hershiser as he trots back to the dugout.
I think the impressive thing about Hershiser so far is that he's pitching this game like it's a one-run game. You consider that sequence of pitches to Strawberry. A 1-0 breaking ball, a 3-1 changeup, and a 3-2 curveball.
Well, great pitchers, what they do, they go out and they try to throw a shutout. When they give up one run, they try to throw a one-run ball game. He hasn't given up a run yet.
Sachs takes a strike. 0-1. Ball's quiet on the Eastern Front. Oh, 2. For Sachs, his third of the night. So a big night for Steve. He's 3 for 4. He's scored twice. He's driven in 2.
Outfielder, Ricky Hatcher.
And it will bring up Hatcher. What's he doing? Ordering champagne? Hatcher 1 for 3. One and oh.
If Hershiser can pitch like it's still a close game, I think the Dodgers offense should treat it as a close game too. And again, go for the throat. 6 runs, team like the Mets can come back. Expect Sachs to run.
1-1.
Either that or hit and run. Again, Hatcher handles the bat so well. You got to do something to try to get a couple more runs. We talked about tacking on runs. It makes Orel's job a lot easier. Makes Tommy's job a lot easier, and it makes the Mets' job that much more difficult.
Bluffs going, and Hatcher fouls it at the plate. 1 ball and 2 strikes. The Sox at first and 1 out in the bottom of the 6th inning. And the Dodgers on top in Game 7, 6-0. Mickey Hatcher. The Dodgers traded him away the year before. They were last in the World Series in '81, and then he was sent away by Minnesota, released last year, and the Twins went on to win. So he's been on the verge twice, and now he's closer than ever. To left field and deep, but playable for McReynolds. Sachs is tagging and takes about 5 steps towards second and holds on at first as Hatcher just missed getting all of that one. 2 down.
That's a good play that Sachs goes back. I mean, it's an easy fly ball. He read it off the bat. He knows that McReynolds is an outstanding left fielder, so. But you don't know. He may fall down catching the ball, and you might be able to advance into scoring position. Well, they say go halfway, but not on a routine ball like that, and it was hit fairly deep, especially for Hatcher with only 1 home run all the entire season.
2 down, Stubbs with Sachs going, and Stubbs rips it into right field for a base hit. Strawberry backhands on the hop and throws into second with Sachs stopping at third. And Franklin Stubbs, who came into the game when Gibson left, is 2 for 2. And it's 10 hits now for the Dodgers.
A good low ball hitter, and look where the ball is. Really about belt high right down the middle. Leach, a sinker baller, and Sachs running, knows he's going to go to third, but he's thinking home. Now he's going to wait for the third base coach to stop him. Otherwise, he's thinking I can score on a long single.
Two out, 2 on. Amalfitano with Sachs as Mike Marshall steps in. One of the few not to join the hit parade tonight. He's 0 for 3.
Marshall, one of the few major leaguers that has credited bowling for his concentration. When he was 14 years old, he used to bowl with a lot of guys a lot older than he. And he said that helped him mature. So bowlers take heart.
No wonder his back hurts. I mean, really 6'5", and it's a long way to the, I mean, not that I know the proper bowling. But you look at Aguilera on the left and Bob McClure, who is the first time he's been up in this entire series. Tells you something about the score. Really, you know.
1-1 pitch. Grounded toward third. Scooped up by Jeffries, and the throw is low, but Bankman is there to make the grab at the bag. To the 7th, 6-0 Dodgers.
Introducing power tools designed to work as one with your hand. The revolutionary Black & Decker N47 series. More compact for better control, greater accuracy, and driven by the most powerful motor for its size we've ever built. The N47 series power tools. They work with your hand as if they were one. From Black & Decker, look for the money-back guarantee of quality.
And here comes the pitch. You get cans of Ontario's #1 beer and #1 light beer in a case of Labatt's Double Blue. blue and blue light. It's a real doubleheader. Yes, it's double blue. So why go for one when you and your friends can go for the double play?
We interrupt this program to confirm that reported sightings of giant pan-shaped objects over our city are true. Eyewitnesses have been left speechless by the sheer size. We implore everyone not to panic. Experts urge you to arm yourselves with a knife and fork and report to a Mother's restaurant immediately. This could mean the end of pizza as we know it. Oh my God, I don't believe it. Where's my knife and fork? My knife and fork.
Pizza Specialissimo, new at Mother's.
Foul. And that's the ball game.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
McReynolds will lead off, then Jeffries will bat second in the inning, and Carter hitting third. Go back and take a look here at Stubbs.
I'll tell you, credit Franklin Stubbs with hustling the second base. That's really what's virtuous about base runners. It's not virtuous when you beat out an infield hit. That's not hustling. What's hustling is to get a run for a ball club, and that's what Stubbs was doing then.
And credit Backman, too, on a throw just above the bag at second base. As McReynolds grounds it down to Griffin. A nice convenient hop for Alfredo, one away. And Alfredo may be going back to Oakland. And there's a big Oakland connection with Jose Gonzalez now taking over in left field as Hatcher is done for the night. The Dodgers with Griffin coming over and Jay Howell, and they signed Mike Davis as well. And of course on the other side you've got Bob Welch and Rick Honeycutt, who would meet their former mates in an all-California series, as 1974 would be revisited. That year the A's beat the Dodgers in 5 in the World Series.
It's a good trade for everybody. And really, you know, Belcher pitched well here. Welch pitched great, won 15 games up there, 15 or 16. Great pitcher at home. The advantage, though, and of course if the Dodgers do go to the World Series, is that Oakland's had a chance to set up their pitching rotation. The big question is, in my mind, will Hershiser go all the way tonight and then have to come back on 3 days rest to pitch game number 2?
Seems like Oakland stuck to the West Coast. They get Dave Henderson after declaring free agency from San Francisco. Storm Davis comes up from San Diego and wins 16 games.
Well, Russo with a great year as a manager, but great coaching staff. Dave Duncan, their pitching coach, former catcher. I threw to him, knew a lot about pitching. Bob Watson has changed Dave Henderson's stance a little bit. Had a career year. Not to mention Canseco and McGuire. They have an awfully good ball club with Walt Weiss making a big difference, allowing them to trade Griffin here to the Dodgers.
2-1 with 1 out on Jeffries. And it's 3-1. Dodgers trying to go to the series for the first time since '81. It would be Lasorda's 4th trip. Hatcher done for the night, but still up and at him.
Well, somebody's got a pace for Kirk Gibson.
3-2.
Kirk, we understand, in the clubhouse and in a great deal of pain, having the hamstring iced down.
Well, if things remain as they are, he'd have 2 days of rest. And the Dodgers would remain here because the World Series this year starts in the home park of the National League winner. Mentioning Lasorda's 4th series, Tommy got to the World Series his first 2 years, 77 and 78, losing both times to the Yankees. That's driven to deep right field. Marshall goes all the way back and can't make the catch as it caroms back off the wall, and Jeffries pulls in at second with a double. So the Mets get their first extra base hit. Jeffries has his 2nd hit. It's the 3rd time he's hit the ball hard tonight, and it will bring up Carter.
This is the 6th hit off Hershiser by Greg Jeffries in this series. I believe it's the first extra base, not his first extra base, because he did hit a curveball off Belcher. Great effort by Marshall, but ball right about at the middle of the 3 off the wall. Good play by John Shelby to back him up to keep it at a double.
And the Dodger bullpen will get busy for the first time tonight.
I'll tell you what Carter can do is bunt, drag bunt, and Hamilton should be alert at third base.
1-0.
Really a good time to do it. You are trying to play the one base at a time type of offense as you see John Tudor and Alejandro Pena warming up for the Dodgers.
Tudor warming up in case they want to get a left-handed hitter as Carter hits one to center field. Right at Shelby. Jeffries tags, but he's not going anywhere. And there are 2 down. And that'll bring up Kevin Elster.
I'll tell you what, Shelby didn't make a good throw, but he got rid of the ball so quickly that, I mean, even in this situation where you don't think about going, Jeffries just stayed at second.
Kevin Elster.
I'll tell you, conceivably, that may have been Gary Carter's last at bat as a Met. I mean, there's been talk about him being traded to San Diego, packaged with a bunch of guys. Dave Magadan has been mentioned. Len Dykstra has been mentioned. Sid Fernandez has been mentioned. And the 2 catchers that San Diego has in their farm system, Sandy Alomar Jr. and Benito Santiago. Santiago, the Rookie of the Year last year.
Socha has that one skitter away, and moving to third on the wild pitch is Jeffries.
And Sandy Alomar Jr., the son of the third base coach of the Padres, Sandy Alomar. A marvelous prospect, one of the best prospects in baseball. I tell you, Gary looks like he's packing his catcher's equipment. And his counterpart, Mike Socha, a tough play. I'll tell you, when a catcher does that, that means they're packing up. And Mackey Sasser, if Sasser does pinch hit, even though Howard Johnson's out there now, we may see Sasser. I don't know. Carter does have a separate catching bag. We'll see if he comes out in the bottom of the 7th.
Well, a strike. Here's Sasser putting the gear on, because what's happening here is you've got Elster batting, Leach due up next, obviously at pinch hit, and then you make the double switch and insert the pitcher into Carter's spot. One and 2.
One of the bat boys that travel with the Mets from New York. The Mets have brought several west with them. One and 2.
Crowd looking for a strikeout. A la Shea.
Of course, Orel will just settle for a routine 2-hopper to Griffin. Big difference this year and last year. He said a better defense. Dave Anderson, who may come off the DL to be eligible for the World Series if they win tonight. Marvelous shortstop when Griffin got hurt. Because I never have to look at a ground ball shortstop anymore.
2 and 2. Jeffries at third, 2 down, 7th inning. Dodgers ahead 6-0. To left field and deep, but playable for Jose Gonzalez. And at the end of 6.5, it remains Los Angeles 6, New York 0.
When Honda introduced the remarkable third-generation Accord sedan, it quickly became a leader in owner loyalty. And now it has achieved the status of Canada's most preferred automobile, which leads us to suggest there are few things in life more loyal than a Honda Accord owner.
A seafood restaurant tells us their Toshiba microwave has cooked 80,000 perfect meals. These volunteers will help us verify this feat of dependability. Next.
Mountain climbing in Ontario can be exhilarating, beneficial for the body and for the soul, not to mention what it can do for your state of mind. Money Mountain Instant Lottery. Millions of prizes. Match 3 and win up to $50,000 instantly, instantly, instantly.
Well, it's beginning to look very much as if those tickets will be used. World Series tickets for Game 1, which would be played here on Saturday. And Game 2 as well, and then the middle 3 games in the American League Park in Oakland. And the final 2, if necessary, back here at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles, where the Dodgers lead the Mets by a score of 6-0. 1 run in the first, and then 11 men to the plate in the second inning. The Mets made 2 critical errors and another that doesn't show up in the scorebook on the bunt to the right side, with Hernandez going back to the bag and nobody there to field it. And the Dodgers, when the inning was done, had scored 5, and it's been that way since the second. 6-0 back of Hershiser. Here's Rick Aguilera out of the bullpen now to face L.A. in the bottom of the 7th inning. And he'll look at Shelby, Scioscia, and Hamilton as Mackey Sasser comes in to catch. Sasser will hit in the number 9 spot, meaning he will lead off in the 8th inning. And with Carter done, and as Tim mentioned, it could be the end of Gary's career as a Met. You don't know, but it's possible. Aguilera bats in Carter's spot, number 7. John Shelby, 0 for 2 tonight, plus a sac fly. 0-1.
You talk about possible trades. Rick Aguilera, 11-game winner last year, had elbow problems, allowed David Cone to be a starter. David won 20 ball games. He's got to be healthy if they're really going to trade away pitchers, not to mention the uncertainty about Bob Ojeda. Threw very well the other day. I was very impressed. Came in here at Dodger Stadium, and Game 2 didn't look like he was very sharp, but threw the ball very well in New York.
One and 2. An inglorious mark being approached by Shelby. Well, at least he's got good company. He shares a mark with Strawberry. Things could be worse.
Of course, you can help a ball club even if you strike out, and you have to go back to the valiant effort in Game 1, and then the great catch he made in the game that Hershiser came in to end the ball game, not to mention the one in Game 4 also that ended the ball game, the 7-4 lead. So a lot of people give him a lot of credit. We've talked about maybe not great agility and with Gibson in left and Marshall in right, but Shelby's an outstanding center fielder that can also throw very well.
Mike Scioscia now with 1 out and the bases empty. And it's highly doubtful if the Dodgers win that Scioscia would be the MVP in the series, because you'd have to look at Hershiser, you'd have to look at Gibson, you'd have to look at Tim Belcher. Don't forget about him with the 2 victories. but it was Mike Scioscia's home run that tilted the series in the 9th inning of Game 4.
I mean, you go back, and that's the best home record in the National League, 56 wins. If they win that ball game, and Gooden had only thrown 10 home runs all year to that point, they have a chance to finish them off on Monday back at home. And what he'd meant was they come back here.
So if Hershiser's the Bulldog, Scioscia's the St. Bernard.
1-2.
It was very good. I'm surprised Tommy didn't think of that. I mean,
he'll steal it.
Yes, I know. You know, it's interesting. We saw a brief glimpse of Orel. He said when he was 19-3 back in 1985, he said one of the reasons he didn't pitch that well the next year was he did a lot of off-season speaking. Now, you got to figure he's going to be in great demand this year. Talk about motivation.
Looped into shallow center, but Backman goes out and makes the play on the grass. So 2 down now in the 7th inning. And that'll bring up Jeff Hamilton. Scioscia with 8 hits in the series.
Third baseman, Jeff Hamilton.
So Mike got 2 down, and Hamilton 1 for 3 tonight.
And really, by Scioscia's standards, he had an off season, so it's obviously very important not only for the Dodgers but for him to have a great postseason.
Yeah, you had an off season with the bat, but that's one consolation you can always get as a catcher, is that you're an appendix to the pitching staff, and when they do well, you get consolation out of that also.
Well, that's pretty much the story of Gary Carter this season. Offensively, not a good year. In fact, one of his poorer seasons, but some satisfaction, a lot of satisfaction out of the way the Mets performed on the mound.
And yet everybody talked about the throwing, that the Mets allowed the most stolen bases next to Houston in the major leagues. But a lot of that the fault of the pitching staff.
Yeah, I think Carter will, and again, you can only guess, but it's probably his healthiest year he's had in 3 or 4 years. But he will go home. He'll make some adjustments, and I think he can still hit. It seems to me he's been in about a 3-month bunk at home plate, trying to pull when he should be trying to hit the ball the other way. And again, I talked to him. He said this is what it's all about, and it's got to be very disappointing that they are trailing here in the 7th game of the National League Championship Series.
No balls, 2 strikes the count. Six runs, 10 hits, and no errors for LA. No runs, 5 hits, and 2 errors for New York.
Well, it's been said that the pitcher's best friend's a double play ball, but it's really the catcher, because he's the guy you can count on to come out and say the right things.
One and 2 the count. To McReynolds in left. And Aguilera has a 1-2-3 inning. On to the 8th. It remains 6-0 Dodgers in Game 7.
Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till you're gonna need somebody to lean on.
Chevy and GMC, the trucks more people lean on.
Xerox presents a major innovation in customer service. Hands. The skilled hands of a technician who knows your machine inside out, backwards and forwards, from the ground up. You don't often see hands this highly trained, this specialized at solving problems. And we've got 1,500 of them, all dedicated to making life easier for you. We answer to you.
Can your motor oil take the heat? When today's engines reach high running temperatures, motor oil can thin out.
break down and leave engine surfaces unprotected. But Castrol XLR has been engineered to maintain a lubricating film, even at extreme engine temperatures. At Castrol, we believe if you can't take the heat, get out of the engine. Castrol XLR, the oil engineered for today's cars. Look for Castrol XLR at these leading retailers.
Most people think a shock absorber's only use is for a comfortable ride, but its most important function is to hold your car on the road. Worn or damaged shocks allow your tires to leave the road surface, so your steering and brakes are not 100% effective. Good shock absorbers mean better control of your car and a safer ride for you and your family. Don't take chances. See the man you can trust. For Monroe Shock Absorbers, the Muffler Man.
Oral Hershiser tying a championship series record. Roger Clemens, Boston against California in '86, worked 22 2/3 innings, and if Oral can get one more out, he'll own the record by himself. 8th inning, he's working on a shutout at 6-0, and Mackey Sasser to lead off for New York. 0-1. Sasser, Dykstra, and Backman. Shelby moving over. 5 outs to go. 1 out in the 8th inning. Strawberry in the Mets dugout. Darrell, a good series overall, but as we mentioned before, relatively quiet. The booming home run the other night and 8 other hits. But in terms of propitious hits, you take a look at somebody like Gibson, and he hit him at very opportune times.
Well, that's what's so impressive about the Dodgers staff. They gave Strawberry opportunity to get hits, but parts of the plate keep away from his power. Fernandez, about the few mistakes that he had to hit. And you were throwing fastballs away, and he can't hit the ball out in the field, but they've kept the ball down. As you look at Howard Johnson, only 1 hit in the series, and in this series.
It's been the kind of night, the crowd with that big early lead, and they've settled back and they've relished every moment. They've even had time for a long wave. What'd you call it, Tim?
Yeah, well, I'm not much on the wave, but tonight I think it takes on a new significance. I think tonight it's a tidal wave.
Yes, it is.
Spelled differently, T-I-T-L-E.
And Dykstra gets hit by the pitch. And the Dodgers, I think, are going to contend he really didn't attempt to get out of the way of it.
None whatsoever.
Harry Wendelstedt's already made that call in this ballpark, however.
20 years ago, to keep Don Drysdale's streak alive, he said Dick Dietz did not really try to get out of the way of a pitch with the bases loaded. They made him come up again. Drysdale got out of the inning, and the streak went on.
Well, he did move his back foot. It's just the wrong one. And again, Lenny is a tough little guy, and I'll take one look. He follows it right down to his toe.
Second time in the series that Lenny's been hit by a pitch.
So Dykstra doing anything to get on as Backman comes to the plate and takes outside. Ball 1, 1-0.
Stubbs playing behind Dykstra now.
And it's 2-0. And the Dodger bullpen busy again. Carter done for the night. And in the Dodger bullpen, Tudor, the lefty, up again, and Jay Howell, the right-hander. And of course, Howell hasn't pitched since the Pine Tar episode.
Tell you, it's a superhuman effort obviously required on the part of the Mets. But if they load him up or something like that and you change pitchers, you don't know what might happen.
And Hershiser behind on the count, 3-0. Not a happy night for Frank Cashin, the Mets GM.
And you're also getting into the middle of the lineup.
Taking all the way, obviously, and it's 3-1.
Well, he ought to be taken all the way till 3-2. 1-0, it didn't appear that he was taking.
Mets haven't had 2 men on in the same inning since the first. And now Backman draws the walk. So runners at first and second with 1 out in the 8th inning. The Dodgers still need 5 outs. Lasorda confers with Perodowski, and here comes Keith Hernandez. And Tommy pretty much saying to Ron, what do you think? Ron says, what do you think, Skip?
Well, I can imagine the answer when he says to Oro, how do you feel? As if he's going to tell him I'm a little tired. I think some pitchers will do that. That's what you want, honesty, but he might have been tired going into this ball game.
If he comes out of the game, it'll be about a 6-3 on the Richter scale.
Read his lips, I'm fine.
The Mets hoping a bloop and a blast will put him back in this thing.
Well, it will. Definitely will. But you know what happened to Backman? He tried to make good pitches because, as we talked about, he wants the shutout. Didn't make them, and then he lost them. I don't know what Hernandez is going to do here, but I would think he'd get a pretty good pitch to swing at early in the count. I mean, he's going to try to run the ball away from him. But Hernandez usually takes that ball to left field.
I would think if Hernandez gets a hit, Tudor will be in to pitch to Strawberry.
And Keith fouls it away, 0-1.
Mets buried in a mine shaft with just a thin sliver of air.
The count. 0-2.
This is the pitch that struck Hernandez out last time. I don't know. I'd look like a split finger fastball. He hadn't thrown that all series. That's what a 6-run lead will do.
And a breaking pitch is hammered foul.
That's a pitch he threw a lot last year. Great play by the bat boy down the right field line. If Mets had him playing on the infield back in the second, the game would be a lot closer.
No balls, 2 strikes. Hernandez trying to breathe new life back into the body. It's 6-0 Dodgers, but the Mets have runners at first and second. 1 out at the top of the 8th inning. No balls, 2 strikes to count. One and 2.
He's trying, isn't he? Went with a 4-seamer. He's been throwing sinkers all night. Went for the strikeout.
Slowly hit. Stubbs settles for the 1 at first base as Hershine's recovered. Runners move up, 2 down, and Strawberry coming up. The Darryl serenade.
Right fielder, Darryl Strawberry.
To collect his thoughts. And interesting thing, in the 59 scoreless inning scheme, I read a stat where he had 32 runners in scoring position, not 1 scored. Talk about getting outs at the right time.
2 men in scoring position here with 2 down. 0-1. 1-1. One and two. Now the crowd will really turn it up a notch with 2 strikes.
How do you take that pitch? Oh.
Like a quarterback whose signals can't be heard, he keeps stepping out of the box. Foul ball. So this crowd just warming up for what they hope is the encore in the ninth. 2 on, 2 out. 2-2 the count on Strawberry. 6-0 Dodgers. Some of the crowd chanting, "Beat New York, beat New York."
The meeting, Timmy, what we talked about earlier, he may not know exactly what O'Hara wants to do, because normally you just throw him a fastball away and hope, you know, make him hit the ball to left field. But Hershiser's thinking shutout, strikeout.
Any out.
Yes.
Powell. Cooter. Sacks. And at the end of 7.5, it remains 6-0 Dodgers.
Here is a CTV News update. Negotiators say they have reached a tentative settlement in the Bell Canada dispute. And 2 men are arrested in Toronto for shouting questions about nuclear-powered submarines at Prime Minister Mulroney. Details on the CTV National News.
Okay, you take all that trouble to clean the dirt off the outside of your car. Who's cleaning the dirt off the inside? What you need is SO No Trouble gasoline that actually cleans as you drive. Or it won't all come out in the wash.
What can make a great time truly great? Take a splash of what's hot, a pinch of something wild, and a dash of the unexpected. Then you shake it up. Some people call it the Blue Zone. The Blue Zone from Labatt's. It's out there.
The Toyota Camry. Beyond the test to ensure it has all the comforts you'd expect to find in a superb family sedan, we also tested for a few things you might not expect. Because at Toyota, We know there are enough things in life to slow you down without your car being one of them.
He's crazy for me to work for him.
Well, you dazzle her with a little glitz, and then you put her out to make crapshooters happy. Love me or leave me.
You say the nicest things.
The world premiere of Glitz, October 17th on CTV.
Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver. Game 7. The Dodgers got a run in the first, 5 in the second. Oral Hershiser has shut New York out through 8. The Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 8th. They're 3 outs away from the World Series, 3 outs away from their first pennant since 1981. And in the bottom of the 8th inning, Alfredo Griffin to lead things off, and then Hershiser and Sachs, the 8, 9, and 1 hitters, with Rick Aguilera on the mound for the Mets. And a little disturbance down the line and left, causing a momentary stoppage. And that is, of course, the Dodger clubhouse in anticipation of a major celebration. 0-1.
That preparation for the World Series, if it does happen for the Dodgers, will probably be in late afternoon tomorrow, that Tommy was talking about in the pregame show.
I'll tell you, both ends, and Jim, you and I have both been on both ends of the spectrum. And I'll tell you, it's just out of sync. Your elation is to the point of giddiness, and your despair is lower than low.
Backman to Hernandez, and there's 1 away.
And you just can't help but think of what might have been. And so many of those situations in this series.
Hershiser. That's what you call an oral salute. And he'll get another one as he grounds out to short. 2 down.
Well, that oral salute has come after the performance of oral surgery on the Mets tonight.
Second baseman, Steve Sax.
I read a story where they said, I don't know if it's just standard fare that everybody in the Dodgers gets a picture from Frank Sinatra, but he got one from Frank, and he spelled it O-R-A-L. Now, obviously, that was early in his career. It must have been his rookie year. So if you're listening, Frank, get his name right. Send him another one.
Frank always did it his way anyway. Sachs fouls it off. 0-1.
And what a way.
Even if he never won a spelling bee. Two out, bottom of the 8th.
He's more interested in phrases. Another way he phrased the song.
Aguilera takes care of Sachs.
And now the end is near.
Very near, my dear.
In the search for long-lasting allergy relief this summer, there's one allergy product you should know about. Hismanol is a long-acting antihistamine that brings you a full 24 hours of relief from allergies, yet lets you function normally. One dose of Hismanol will give you 24-hour protection from allergy symptoms, such as itchy, watery eyes and sneezing. Hismanol brings you 24 hours of long-lasting relief from allergy symptoms, yet lets you function normally. Hismanol, this summer, any summer.
My friends think I'm cool. They're okay, too. We hang out a lot. We like to shoot baskets, get crazy sometimes. But for us, booze and drugs aren't cool. No way. You gotta be who you gotta be, and I'm really me.
Ordinary rechargers seem to take forever to recharge batteries. But now, Dynacharge has the new Quick Charge. It recharges batteries twice as fast as ordinary rechargers. And if you buy Quick Charge now, you could win a $2,000 shopping spree. But hurry, they could be going twice as fast as ordinary rechargers. The new Quick Charge from Dynacharge.
Smile, Canada! Wednesday, October 19th is McHappy Day, the day everyone comes to McDonald's for a Big Mac. Because for every Big Mac sold, $1 goes to help Ronald McDonald Children's Charities of Canada and local children's charities. McHappy Day is a special day. Local personalities help out behind the counter. Get his autograph. Join the fun. Wednesday, October 19th, have a Big Mac and help some terrific kids. Smile, Canada. McHappy Day, the day we all work together.
In decisive games in the championship series, it used to be a best of 5. Oakland, Baltimore 73, Catfish Hunter blanked the Orioles. Last year, best of 7 National League, Danny Cox of St. Louis blanked San Francisco. And now Oral Hershiser against the New York Mets, who are 3 outs away from flunking this oral test as they trail 6-0. McReynolds, Jeffries, and then a pinch hitter for Aguilera.
And Oral moved third baseman Jeff Hamilton in. I don't think he's aware that it's 0 for 21, but he knows he probably doesn't hit him well. He knows he may bunt, so you take the bunt away from him.
To left center field and deep and all the way back, and making the catch on the run is Gonzalez. Jose Gonzalez to the gap.
Very nice play by Gonzalez. See how cautious he goes after. I bet he's never caught a ball like that in his life. Look at his right hand, how cautiously he's cradling the ball to make sure.
One out. Jeffries at the plate. On deck to bat for Aguilera is Lee Mazzilli. (2-0). David Cohn sent the Mets to a 7th game. But Oral Hershiser is trying to send them home for the winter. 3-0.
But you know what's going through David Cohn's mind? Not the game and the great game he pitched yesterday, but the second game. Because you sit on the bench and you think, what if I had just done this, or this hadn't happened?
3-1.
You know, it seems when you're the losing team or about to lose, you reflect on all the negative things, not the good things that have happened either during the season or during the playoffs. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, they lose Jay Howell, and it's actually a boost.
3-2. On the left, Tim Belcher, and don't forget about him. 2 victories. To Griffin. 1 out to go. Mazzilli to the plate. Gibson back on the bench to savor the moment.
Isn't that what he said the season's all about? Getting to the World Series?
His second in 5 years.
And a guy runs out onto the field in the middle of all of this. So time called for the moment. A strike to go. And the crescendo will build again in a moment. Two out. 0-2 on Mazzilli. 6-0 Dodgers in the ninth. And he gets hit by an 0-2 pitch. So the Mets still alive. Barely. Elster due up. Howard Johnson will come up to bat for him. With 2 out of the ninth inning, Howard Johnson coming to the plate.
Howard Johnson.
For Johnson, a very tough series. And in fact, it earned him a seat on the bench the last 2 nights as Elster went in there to play shortstop. And now Howard comes up to bat for Elster with 2 out of the ninth inning.
They just pitched him real tough. Strawberry got his hits. A bunch of curveballs. He got 1 hit, a broken bat single.
Time called. Hershiser just noticing now the stoppage for
Maybe the pitch to
Wendell
Mazzilli, because something you talked about in the opening. You get so pumped up, you got to bring yourself down.
Yep.
2 strikes, only 1 more, and you go to the World Series and you hit somebody. Not what you wanted to do.
Mazzilli going, and nobody is covering, so they just let Mazzilli go down to second base. He wasn't being held on, and he figures, why not? So Mazzilli with an uncontested steal, and the count, no balls and 1 strike on Howard Johnson.
You got to do it because you take away the force play. And Howard hits the ball in the hole with good speed. He's going to beat it out, so no gamble involved at all.
The 0-1 pitch. And again, a strike away. 0-2. Dodgers started out of the dugout, and Wendelstedt said no. They were running out of the dugout. Fabulous scene. 1-2 the count. 2-2.
Got to give Harry some credit. ball was inside, and emotionally, you know, you'd hear the crowd, you call a guy out.
Yeah.
And I know Oral Hershiser wants that pitch, but Howard Johnson, he still wants to get on. The other team doesn't win until you make the 27th out, and they have more runs.
The 2-2 pitch. 3-2. Mackey Sasser out on deck. And Hershiser will work for a windup, not even thinking about Mazzilli at second. That last strike is proving elusive. But it's proved elusive in this series. California, here we stay. The Dodgers have gone from 16 games under 500 to the World Series.
The Carlsberg Brewery has stood in Copenhagen since 1847. Since then, the Carlsberg brewmasters have been single-mindedly devoted to brewing the finest beer possible. So devoted that Carlsberg is now brewed and enjoyed all around the world. But despite all that, what's the first thing you think of when you think of Denmark? Yeah, us too. Carlsberg, the glorious beer of Copenhagen, brewed in Canada.
The hatchback, originally designed to be a useful little car. Regrettably, most hatchbacks are still nothing more than useful little cars. Introducing the Colt 200, built for Chrysler by Mitsubishi. To call it a hatchback would reduce it to the level of its competitors. Chrysler, changing the landscape.
Recently, DuPont discovered people with great carpets had to make great saves.
DuPont developed certified Stainmaster carpet. Now, even if a stain like this sits for hours, it's a memory in minutes with DuPont Stainmaster. Sooner or later, you're going to need it. Stainmaster, only from DuPont.
Labatt's 1988 National League Championship Series was brought to you by Esso, makers of Protec engine oil, Esso's best engine protection, and by Labatt's Blue, the clean, true taste of Canada.